But here we go with Echoes of Home, Book 1, entry number 73 by Steve, Butt Slider. I'm looking forward to introducing Master Shen, to the people from Murray's. Maybe it's just picking on the poor bastard, but not only did he inflict Murray's on us, he inflicted us on them. That seems to be working out as serendipitous, but still beside the point. But there's picking on him and there's being destructive. Bad enough that I busted in on him with his girlfriend there. Muscling in on him when he's got a class going just seems rude, disrespectful, and so on. It could hurt his business. It could get the police called. It could result in a room full of screaming little kids, and nobody wants that. So here we are in a coffee shop across from Flying Tigers, scouting it out to see what times are busy for him. Or at least, I am. Tsu'na came with me, and we sat for a while drinking stupidly expensive tea. She didn't seem to like her stupidly expensive tea as much as I liked my stupidly expensive tea, but then I knew I liked Earl Grey while she got to experiment with the menu. You don't like mine? It tastes oily? Yeah, it's got a kind of fruit oil in it. What is chai? Kind of like Kagani tea with herbs. Haven't tried it yet. You may observe your test subject trying it. Then she said she wanted to explore Tulsa a bit and would be back later, leaving me with my laptop in the window in the view. But hey, at least there's free Wi-Fi, subsidized by stupidly expensive tea. Master Shen wasn't kidding about getting kids in there. Around 10 of us pulled up, marked with what I think was the name of a private school or daycare center, and offloaded a bunch of youngsters, maybe age 5 or 6. They weren't in little white suits, and they didn't appear to be there for karate. From what I could see, they were climbing over and around low padded walking beams and doing things with rings and exercise balls. I'd seen places that did this. Kindergarten gymnastics. Gets the kids off their butts and burning calories. Of course, today's active preschooler is probably tomorrow's fidgety schooler, but that's tomorrow's problem. Around lunchtime, there were a few business suit 30-something guys coming in for some exercises and rotation training. They thinned out before 1 to be replaced by 30 or perhaps 40-something women in sweatpants that appeared to be coming in for yoga and Tai Chi. It seemed Flying Tigers was the Walmart of martial arts around here. I sustained myself with a venison pie for lunch. Bringing my own food got me a bit of a stink eye from the staff, mollified somewhat by renewed purchase of stupidly expensive tea. Excuse the hell out of me for not wanting to subsist on biscotti. There was a bit of a gap between the housewives and a second busload of urchins. That suggested 2 o'clock would be a good time for a drop-in, at least on Tony's end. I'd need to find out what the Murray's guys actually did during the day. There couldn't be that many drug seekers to roll to make a living off of. Tsu'na returned while the kids were running around inside. She further underwrote the Wi-Fi with a jade citrus mint tea and brought out her own laptop. How'd the exploration come, my love? It went well. I did research. Do you know what a butt slider is? The guys with the Kevlar pants? Yeah, I've seen videos. What is Kevlar? A kind of cloth for armor. It's bullet resistant and heat distributing. And a butt slider wears pants of Kevlar? Yeah, they tie a rope between their feet in the car and get dragged around while they're sitting up. They claim they don't feel anything. The Kevlar is that good. It's a stupid kind of fun. It does sound stupid, and perhaps fun. We should study Kevlar. We really should. I've seen Kevlar clothing online. I'll put it in order. How's the tea? I think I like mint less than fruit oil. As the tide of kids rolled out, a trickle of teenagers streamed in. Those must be the troubled teens Master Shin mentioned. They didn't look all that troubled. Perhaps they were learning to channel their troubles into each other. When Tsu'na spoke next, she was scowling at her laptop. Kevlar is strange, husband. How so, my love? If I am reading this right, it is made by mixing lots of things in a liquid, then pulling the Kevlar straight and spinning it while still in the liquid. Huh, what's the liquid? Sulfuric acid. Well, that's a problem. Sulfuric acid is really corrosive. We don't want to deal with that if we don't have to. Yes, this says it is what makes Kevlar expensive to make. Does it say what it's made of? Soon appeared at her screen. Things called monomers with long names. Hmm. Okay, short range plan. We buy Kevlar thread and start from there until we can make it or something better. I will look for Kevlar thread. The teenagers were persisting. There had been what looked like a class or training session at first, but then it broke into individual help. After that, it looked like the place was a hangout as well. I called Scott with an update on the Flying Tiger schedule. He said he'd work out a day with the guys for the 2 p.m. slot. Then we packed up and headed for the diner for our shift. When we got there, Soon made a cup of tea. It was just Lipton, but she was content with it, and it was stupidly cheap. I'm cackling. When I heard butt slider, I was picturing the adjustable slider in video games that makes the character butt bigger or smaller. Interesting you should say that, Christy. Uh, Jerry. Moving on to entry number 74, boob slider. Entry 74 by Tsu'na, boob slider. It's all intentional, Jerry. I have a plan. Kevlar, a heat-resistant and strong synthetic fiber. Boob, a stupid, awkward person. Mistake, blunder, goof, breast. Husband and I are sitting in a coffee shop across the street from Flying Tigers. We are not drinking coffee in this coffee shop. Husband is drinking Earl Grey tea, and I am drinking Jade Citrus Mint tea. It is better than Coerthus tea, but not quite as good as Shroud tea. I wonder how the Namazu would rate it. He has been here for hours watching the fight classes. I came with him here but did not stay long. I told him I would explore Tulsa. I meant I would explore a certain part of it where we had been before. It was not hard to find. I have not yet been to many places in Tulsa, so my journal map showed where our first visit had been. I recognized shops I had seen before and followed them to what husband had called an esports center. There was a young man, or perhaps an older boy, at a desk at the front. He looked up from his computer. Welcome to Player One. How can I help you? I would like to play Final Fantasy XIV. Sure, we have that here. Though, Endwalker hasn't come out yet, so we're on Shadowbringers. What is Endwalker? Latest X-Pack. You don't know about it? It was supposed to be out by now, but now Yoshi's talking Christmas. Shadowbringers will be fine. Bird? What bird? Did I forget a bird? Okay, Jerry, I guess I forgot the bird. Where was I? Shadowbringers will be fine. Cool. How many hours? There was a sign on the wall behind him that showed how many dollars for how many hours. I paid for 2 hours. He gave me a card and the number of the computer I should use. The computer had a payment card reader beside it. I put in the card I had been given and the computer screen lit up. I saw FFXIV among the icons and selected it. At the login screen, I put in the ID and password I remembered husband using. Haha, haha, haha. I put on the headphones around my beret in time for the blast of music that came with the white screen. I did not notice the first time I saw it with husband that it said Shadowbringers. Perhaps it referred to our time as the Warriors of Darkness. I clicked on the word Start. I looked at the version of me on the screen. I thought about why I was there. I have thought about the game every day since first seeing it weeks ago. I have tried to reconcile my knowledge of my world with the existence of this game. I have tried to both imagine and to not think about what husband had referred to as supervising me, which to him would have meant moving me hither and yon in the game. If the game was my world, I needed to know. If the game was not my world, I needed to know. I stared at myself on the screen. I clicked New Character. The first picture to appear was of a male hero. Husband had picked a female Miklos because he wanted his character to be attractive for him. Perhaps I could have made a character that looked like him so it was attractive to me. But I was not there to play and have fun. I was there to learn. I looked at the different races, different genders, different factions. In the end, I made a female Mikot gladiator. The hairstyle that appeared was like the flowing style I wore when I first arrived in Limsa, before I changed to the far more practical tails and braid. The game asked me for a name. I did not want to use my own since this was not me. But I knew little of Mikot names. My name is from my adoptive here parents, who also knew little of Mikot names. I knew Nago, a seeker of the sun, and the Adiopos sisters Zoe and Chloe, keepers of the moon, and how my name did not resemble either. There was a randomize button. After a few clicks, I picked Huayra Amarillo. Yes, that's an actual result from randomizing. I was told that name could not be used. I tried another and another and another. The Mikota on the screen would sigh and shake her head each time. Perhaps she was discouraged as I felt. I grew weary of this after trying 20 times. I could not think of a name. I tried typing forename surname, but that did not work either. I finally Googled Mikota names on my phone. I found a page that would make different random names. I selected Rika Siste. Rika jumped for joy when the game accepted that name. Then she was dropped into the void. I had thought it was a dream when it happened to me, finding myself surrounded by darkness with Heidelman's voice saying, "Hear, feel, think." I had woken up on a ship with the old bearded Heer Brandt checking on me. And there Rika was experiencing the same thing, though she woke on a wagon instead, as she was headed to Olda. I did not think over much about husband having experienced the same thing when he came to my world. I simply thought Hyolyn had decided she needed another warrior of light. But now this Rika, my character, was having the same experience, as would anyone who created a character in this game, since anyone who played it would be wanting the experience. But in my world there were only the two of us, only two warriors of light. If anyone could create one, how many were in this game? I could not explore Olda until I had seen several messages about how to move, how to talk to people, how to accept quests. After Rika had registered at the Adventurers Guild and the Gladiators Guild and visited the marketplace, she was free to see the city. The city seemed quite so small. Alda is large, with many passages, many shops, many places crowded and quiet. It could take hours to walk around the city and see everything. But Rika did not walk. She ran everywhere, even inside buildings. She went practically everywhere in that Oda in perhaps 10 minutes. And yet it was crowded. Several people around the Aetheryte, several people in each guild hall, a large crowd in the marketplace clustered around the summoning bell and the market board and scattered around in the street crafting. There was the sound of chatter and laughter and cries. It took some time to realize that the sound was not coming from the people. Few of them were facing each other, and none of them were working their mouths. One was playing an instrument badly, which added to the noise, but none seemed to be speaking or laughing or crying. I concluded the sound was coming from the game, along with the constant music. I was more sure of this when I noticed some of the sounds repeated every so often, a particular laugh, a particular cry. I wondered why all these people were together if they were not acting together, in this place, in this world, in this game. Then a new message appeared. Welcome to the Novice Network. I clicked the button to join, and something new appeared on my screen in the corner saying I had accepted an invitation to join the Novice Network where new players could ask questions of mentors. Then the text began. Ancient Grove. Welcome, Rita. Rika, hope you're having fun. Let us know if you need any help. There was a blank bar under the text. I clicked on it and got a cursor. I typed a message of my own. Rika Siste. Thank you. More text appeared after that. It scrolled by quickly, almost faster than I could read. Velvet Kitty. Anyone doing a free extreme? Weebmonger. Is there a dyeable version of the Dommelskin thigh boots? Mimi Joe. What's the best tank class to start HW with? Ardent Grove. Might as well try Dark. It's right there when you come in. That was talking. That was people communicating. Not the babble I was hearing in the street. The text before me was people. But the text was not being made by the people I saw on the screen. It was from the fingers of players typing on their computers wherever they were, which were not the people on the screen, as I was not Rika. Rika was standing there doing nothing while I communicated with people. This answered my question. More than any of Husband's assurances and explanations, this answered my question. My world did not have this. It did not have all these silent yet noisy people crowding the streets, running around or crafting things or making bad music. It did not have people who spoke with each other by typing regardless of where they were. This was not my world. And whatever person Husband had running around in this world was not a real person and was certainly not me. It was another picture or statue or character, just like Rika. It was also not me. I am content with this observation. More text appeared, though this was in purple. From Mini Muffins. Hey, nice tune. Rika Siste. Someone just spoke to me in purple. What does that mean? Ardent Grove. That's a private tell. You can respond to it by using /R. Tune. Character. I like you didn't go wild with the boob slider. What is a boob slider? The slider bar in carriage and under bust size changes the chest shape. I did not see that. Oh, okay. Thought it was a choice. A lot of guys go nuts with it. If there was a butt slider, they'd probably do that too. There is no butt slider? Nah, people have been asking for it for years, but the dads keep saying it's too hard. I think it's just sexism because if they put it in, people would use it for guys too. I found out how to log out and returned to the character selection screen. I started creating another character, another female, and this time looked at the boob slider under bust size, as well as the face shape, the tail length, the skin and hair and eye colors, and other things. Husband had played this game. He created a character, a female Mikoto that looked like me, because he wanted an attractive character. And then he crossed what he calls the multiverse to find me. Or he crossed the multiverse to find someone who looked like me, who looked like his character. Had I been what he was looking for? I typed this as I sat in the coffee shop where we are not drinking coffee, or we are planning the best time to frighten a barefoot man wearing white in his own school. I look up at husband. He notices the motion and meets my eyes. He smiles. I ask him if he knows what a butt slider is. He tells me of Kevlar. We have yet another project. Perhaps he also does not know what a boob slider is. Whether or not I was who he was looking for, I am who he found. I am who he married. I am who he holds at night. I am content with this observation. So yes, Jerry, it was deliberate. Couldn't resist it. Heads up, I'm probably going for 6 entries tonight because they all make sort of a set. Entry number 75 by Steve. Realism. Scott got back to me the same day when I was at the diner. Seems Mark and Chester are local delivery guys whose day starts and ends way early, so 2 p.m. was doable. Scott said he was a kind of investment manager, which apparently means he can set his own hours. I don't know how an investment manager ends up spending his days in a dive bar with truck drivers, but since he also bets on illegal cage matches, perhaps he's a fiduciary scuzzball. Ted had said he was retired from WrestleTainment, but I assumed that he had a new, non-exhibitionistic career. If he does, it doesn't stop him from meeting us and the Murray's gang at the coffee shop. I bought a round of coffee, thinking dinner would have been cheaper, and we chatted for a bit before invading Flying Tigers. Master Shen was not happy to see me. I thought you said you weren't coming back. The Murray's crowd had said the same thing. I should probably not make that promise so much. Yeah, well, we needed a practice room, and the guys really wanted to meet you. This was Mark, Chester, and Scott. I met them at Murray's. Tony's face took on a no shit hue. And this here's Ted. He's going to be running training. Hope it's okay that we use this place. You know, since you sent my business their way, I thought only fair I bring some business to you. I've got classes to teach. You can't just. Your next class is at 3 p.m., right? We should be done by then. How's $50 sound? Tony had to think about that. Offering money legitimized the situation some. He clearly didn't want us there, but he had a less reasonable argument if we weren't demanding space for free. What if I say no? Are you going to say no? Seems kind of rude under the circumstances. The guys had spread out into the room, nonchalantly checking the place out. At that point, they had Tony surrounded. It was entirely possible he possessed the skill to deal with 4 guys off the street, but not if we added Tsu'na and or me. So he kept it in business terms. 100. 75. I paid Tony. Tsu'na asked where she could change and Tony pointed her to a locker room. She returned in her cage match gear with the Mikoto attributes clearly visible. Scott had seen it before. The other men, including Tony, tried to look studious as they checked her out. What's with the ears and tail? Asked Ted. Tuna glanced at me before answering. They aren't my shtick. Gimmicks are cool, but are they going to come off when you fight? No. If you say so. Okay, first off, let's see how you can handle getting hit. I looked over at Mustache and Choker. Hey, Mark, you want to throw a punch at her? Choker, that answered that, responded, no, I can't hit a lady. It's okay, she's a pro. She can take it. Yeah, sorry, no. He'd been kind of flirting with her at Murray's. Maybe he thought he still had a chance with her. We could disabuse him of that idea later if necessary. I turned to Mustache. Chester, how about that gut punch you tried on me? Chester, knee Mustache, looked uncertain but stepped forward to Tuna, who simply stood in front of him. Uh, you ready? Tuna just smiled. Chester nodded, worked his shoulders a bit, shuffled, and swung. There's a scene in Dragon Ball Z where a woman is offering to throw a prize fight to the reigning champ in exchange for a chunk of the prize money and no notoriety. The champ agrees and punches her in the gut. That's it? That's all you've got? Well, yeah. The things I do for my family. I could totally see Tuna playing that role right then, though what she gave Chester was more extreme indifference accented by a raised eyebrow. Would you like to try again? She asked. I couldn't tell if Chester had pulled his punch, but his face and body language suggested he wouldn't pull the next one. Even more than that gut punch he tried on me at Murray's, he put his back and shoulder into it. Not that it made a difference. Tuna just stood there and looked at him. Ted looked confused. Tony looked bleak. Chester looked frustrated. It's not that we don't feel pain. Sure we do. It's a natural consequence of fighting. But do enough fighting and you don't react to the pain the way normal people would. It becomes a metric, a measure of how tough your opponent is and how incapacitated you are. You don't have the time or the need to visibly react to pain while you're fighting, and we've done a lot of fighting. My magnificent Mikult was magnificent. That wasn't what we needed right then. Okay, I said. Let's try a little Stanislavski. Tuna peered at me as I stepped forward. What is Stanislavski? He was a theater guy who believed realism on stage helped actors get into the right mindset for acting. I clapped Chester on the shoulder and took his place in front of my wife. This is going to hurt. She smiled indulgently. I reached into my inventory and pulled out an apple and my culinary knife. Tuna watched as I cut the apple in half, then looked up at me inquiringly. I put the knife away and held the cut up for her. Smell this. She eyed me as she took a sniff. It smells like an apple. Do you like the smell? I smell apples when I make pies. I do not dislike it. Smell it again. Breathe it in deeply. Is this a theater thing? Yes, my love. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, fill yourself with the scent. Let it be all you think about. Her brow furrowed, but she did as I asked. Her eyes closed. Her chest rose as she took a deep breath. Then I punched her in the gut. Her eyes flew open, the wind whooshed out of her, she shuddered slightly as she got her breath back, then looked at me with shock and anger, which slowly turned to thoughtfulness. This is what I should feel when Chester hits me. Yes, or at least that's what it should look like you feel. She scowled at me. You like words. You could not have used words to tell me this. Realism. Now you have a baseline. I may have realism for you when you sleep tonight. Noted. Okay, Chester, want to have another go? The guys were looking at me like I was insane. They had no idea what my baseline for sanity is these days. Chester dutifully stepped forward as I retreated. I stowed the apple in inventory. As Chester rated himself to punch my wife again, Scott quietly said, I can't believe you did that. We're tough. We can be rough with each other. Yeah, but that was a solid punch. We have a solid relationship. Hope so. Chester was at least getting a response from Tsu'na with his punches. She dutifully blew out air and doubled over. But even Chester could see that it wasn't actually from the punch. There was the slightest delay between the two. She reacted at the point of contact, but it was clearly a reaction, a response, not a consequence. Ted moved in with advice, suggesting she try reacting a bit sooner, like when the punch was coming in. That looked a little better, though the timing was still a bit off. But it was starting to look like something that would come with practice. How you holding up, Chester? He was rubbing his shoulder. It's like punching an elephant. I'll forgive you for that because I know it's true. Need a break? Tony had been losing his dread, replacing it with fascination. Combat choreography was clearly a new thing for him. I turned to him. Master Shen, want to take a turn? He looked from her to me. How hard do I hit her? Up to you. He moved to stand in front of her. Their eyes met for a moment, then he shifted into what was probably his board-breaking stance. His fist snapped out, fast enough to be hard to track. It struck her in midsection and returned. Tsu'na wobbled slightly, then looked at Ted. That was a very fast punch. Should I fold like before? You can, or you can do a slower reaction. Put your hand on your belly and lean forward, like the pain's taking you by surprise. He eyed her. That didn't hurt? She shrugged. Ted guided her through the motions as Tony struck her again and then again. With each punch and her theatrically trained response, his face got slightly more grim. I think he was trying harder and harder to get a pain reaction out of her. Maybe I should have told him to get used to disappointment. When Tony too showed signs of getting tired, we decided to call it a day. I hadn't talked about any sort of payment with the Murray's guys, but they were content with a promise to buy a couple rounds of drinks. Scott had sold Mark and Chester on the idea of making money betting on Cat's Meow, which made this practice time an investment. Ted said it was the most fun he'd had in years. We did not offer Tony a drink. He was getting our cash after all. I did have some parting words for him, though. So, Master Shen, I hope we can keep what we do here confidential. My wife's career depends on it. She might get mad if something happens to her career. I might get mad if something makes her mad. You can understand that, right? He glared at me but nodded. I smiled. Good talk. Later, after our diner shift, I woke up in the middle of the night from a kick to my gut. When I got my breath back, I said, Nice realism, my love. Thank you, husband. Chowing down on Tic Tacs so I don't dry out. Mixed results. Entry number 76 by Tsu'na. Superman. Husband seems trusting of our new partners. I am not sure if he should be. He has his reasons, and I accept that he has thought about them, but we do not know these people very well. He seems convinced that the people from Murray's worship us, or at least him. He has told them that what he can do is classified, which should make it seem like the government knows about it, and that it is therefore normal. But still, they look up to him, perhaps because of the healing he did. He has told them to keep quiet about us, but if they do indeed worship him, he should know that religions tend to spread. Ted has only seen that we are strong. There are strong people in this world, though perhaps not as strong as us. But Ted has not seen us do what no other people can do, only what most other people cannot do. So he has less to tell others. The only truly confused and upset here I have seen so far is Master Shen, or Tony, or whatever his name is. I am not bothered that he is upset after he sent us to Murray's, but if he feels the need to talk to someone about being upset, it means more people talking about us. I typed this at the pit at the start of my bouncer shift. Google says what I'm about to do is an example of irony. Hello, Sam. Hey there. Writing the novel? A journal. I am trying to make my thoughts clear. Anything I can help with? Perhaps. How do I know whether I can trust someone? Don't know. How do you know you can trust me? I simply looked at him. He grinned. So am I the one you're wondering about? You were not before. Should I wonder about you? You have so far been discreet about us. You're good people, far as I can tell. I can appreciate wanting to be left alone. A lot of folk who live in a town like this want that. But who do you talk to if you have something to talk about? Sam considered. This about weird stuff? We are weird stuff. Suppose you are, but I don't talk about you unless someone else talks about you, and then I'm telling you're good people. You know, maybe you're asking the wrong question. Am I? Instead of asking whether you can trust someone, maybe you should ask if you should, whether what you get from trusting them is worth what might happen if you do. I think we would be very unhappy if you betrayed our trust. Stop talking to me unhappy, or burn down the bar unhappy. I thought about it. Find another place to live unhappy. Now, see, I wouldn't want that, so I won't make you unhappy. Thank you. We were quiet for a bit. He polished a glass as he looked out over the currently empty bar. I decided to trust that he would not make me unhappy. Has my husband mentioned that I fight? Something about cage matches? Yes, but he worries that if I seem too strong, no one will want to fight me. So we are working with some people to help me not look as strong. What kind of people? Three are from a bar we visited where they attacked us and lost. Now they act like friends. One has a history in, I checked my past journal entries, entertainment-based performance theater. He called it scripted fighting. You mean WWE? World Power Sports. He said it was similar. We are doing the work at a fighting school run by the person who sent us to the bar. We do not like him. Neither do the people from the bar. And these are the folk you're worried about. Three who attacked us and are now friends. One who we hardly know who has done theater. One who misled us and now fears us. Yes. Sam nodded slowly. Okay. So what are you worried might happen? When we first came here, husband said we did not want to confuse or upset your people. That confused and upset people can cause problems for us. Yet, we seem to do that when we show people that we are stronger than we look. I've seen how strong you are. I met his eyes. We are stronger than we look. Okay, but you're not as strong as Superman, right? Superman. Fictional character. Comic book superhero. Superman is not real. Exactly. So if you were strong as Superman, it'd freak people out, because that couldn't be real. Freak out. To lose or cause to lose emotional control from extreme excitement, shock, fear, joy, despair, etc. How strong is Superman? Punch through steel, carry airplanes while flying, throw cars. I have not done those things. Suppose people won't freak out then. You said he flies? Does he ride something that flies? Nah, he just flies. Floats in the air, goes real fast and high. You looked at me. You really never heard of Superman? Husband had a phrase for this. I have been sheltered. But you play computer games. It is complicated. Uh-huh. People began to enter. Sam went to serve them. I looked up Superman more thoroughly. Comic books are an entire class of fiction organized around pictures at least as much as words. They are typically serialized fiction, which means the story is divided into pieces and the pieces are supplied over time. Comic books have been produced for almost 100 years, which is less time than many of the books and stories has been talked about, but still a long time. People have been born while comic books existed, so comic books are something everyone knows about. Superman is one of the most famous characters in comic books. He appeared in a comic book in 1938, which makes him almost as old as comic books themselves. Many videos have been made about him and other characters associated with him. So Superman is someone everyone knows about. Husband worries about people knowing I am strong. Sam accepts that I am strong, but thinks it's strange I do not know about Superman. I am strange in this world. I am a Mikot, and I am strong, and I am ignorant. I will not change being a Mikot. I will not cease to be strong. I can at least work on the ignorance. Sam and I did not talk significantly for the rest of the evening, and the customers were well behaved. I spent the time reading about Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman and Green Lantern and many others. Wikipedia has much to say about all of them, with their stories weaving together like a tapestry. Amazon has Kindle editions of the comics. I read many over the course of hours. I typed this in bed with husband nestled against me. He had spent the evening mapping from the air and was happy to go to sleep while I typed and researched. I am happy to have him with me like this. We can talk in the morning about Sam's truck. I left the pit when Sam closed the bar. He was busy cleaning and restocking, so he was inside when I walked out the back door and saw his truck. I found myself wondering if I could throw it. I did not see anyone else around. I went to the back of the truck. I gripped the bottom edge and lifted. It was very heavy, and I needed to brace myself as I got it higher, and brace myself again as I got it higher still. The truck was resting on its front wheels, but I could still feel that it was not well balanced. I could not imagine picking it up with only two hands and holding it well enough to throw it. Perhaps if husband lifted the front end, we could toss it together. I lowered the truck as gently as I could. When I let go of it, I turned and saw Sam at the back door, staring at me with his mouth open. He was holding a beer cave with both hands. The way he held it suggested he found it heavy. I did not throw the truck. He did not respond. I walked to him. He stood very still. I placed my hand on his arm. Please do not make us unhappy, Sam. It took him some time to answer. I won't. Thank you. Good night. I will let husband sleep. We can discuss this in the morning. Rwanda taught me to use F11 to get more real estate on the screen, but I still have to undo it. Anyway, entry number 77 by Steve, classified. I woke up to the sight of my wife developing a case of cortitis. As delectably nerdy as she looked, lying on her tummy with her cheek resting on the laptop's keyboard, I really hated to wake her, but she should probably have some time for the key imprints to smooth out of her face. Good morning, my love. Come on, pry your face up and get a shower. I'll make pancakes. She lifted her head, peered at me blearily, rubbed at her cheek, and looked at the computer with growing comprehension. So, comics, huh? What got you started on those? Sam told me about Superman. Ah, superhero comic books are quite the rabbit hole, you know. What is a rabbit hole? A hole a rabbit digs to live in? It's also something complex and interesting that gets more complex and interesting the more you look into it. I smiled. Comic books are culturally significant, but please add the following to your required reading list: Alice in Wonderland, Through the Looking Glass, and, just for grins, toss in The Hunting of the Snark, all by Lewis Carroll. I can find these on Amazon. They're over 100 years old. You can find the full text on Wikipedia. We went down 51 to the hardware store to look at materials. I got a roll of mylar, a can of spray foam, a length of PVC pipe, and a plastic lawnmower wheel. The plastic pipe was more of a good idea type thing, figuring we might need it eventually, but some more research suggested it wouldn't work in my project as I thought it would, so I also got a piece of aluminum. Eorzea has aluminum after a fashion. It's only available from a vendor in Yulmore for battle currency. There's no mining of aluminum ore over there, so I don't know where the vendor supposedly got it. Further research shows there's no mining of aluminum ore here either. Aluminum comes from refining bauxite, which is mined in this country, but not actually used to make aluminum. Nearest significant source of bauxite I could find is in Arkansas, about 150 miles east of us. That's 6 hours by bus or 3 hours by Gubu to get material we would then have to figure out how to reduce to the metal we actually want. Or we could, like, what you call, buy it. Stranger things have happened. We got lunch nearby and went to the workshop to try to make recipes. Tsu'na is much better at coming up with materials recipes than I am. She seems to have an knack for the visualization needed, and she doesn't have my preconceived notions. I, in turn, have been working up recipes that use our materials, research into where we can gather, and networking in town. Now that hunting season is starting, I plan to talk to Sam and maybe Mr. Hartman about making it known that we'll buy venison. It'll be a bit of out of pocket, but we can make that up by selling venison pies. And as long as we're buying some venison and not keeping obvious records of it, there's no way for anyone to know we're stockpiling on our own, way above what the deer bag limit should allow. Tsu'na tore herself away from comics to work on reproducing mylar. From her earlier work on plastic, she was able to make clear material, but making it thin, flexible, and strong eluded her. Her most promising efforts turned out to be too stiff and brittle or too thin and fragile. I told her what I knew about surface tension, and we spent some time poking holes in sheets of mylar to see how it tore. She said she'd revisit stringiness, but after a couple hours she took a break to read again. We had leftover pizza in the workshop before heading to the bar for my evening shift. As we walked in, I saw Sam giving us a look. It was very similar to the look Master Shen gave us the last time we came into Flying Tigers, and hell, what am I going to do with them look? It wasn't a look I wanted to see on Sam. Evening, he nodded back. You okay? You look kind of tired. Yeah, I didn't sleep too well after your wife lifted my truck. Tsu'na had set her laptop on the bar and was sort of burying herself in it. Sorry, did you just say Tsu'na stole your truck? No, she didn't steal it. She lifted it, picked up the back end. I stared at him. He was totally not kidding. I glanced at my wife. We need to talk. We need to talk, she mumbled. Did you really pick up the end of his truck? Why? He said Superman can throw cars. I wanted to know if I could. I sighed. I tried to keep it light as I turned back to Sam. Well, that makes sense. I'd wonder about that too. What, you're saying you can pick up my truck too? Don't know. Never tried. Have you? Of course I haven't tried. Really? After seeing her do it, you didn't even try? That ain't the point. How the hell did she do that? She a robot or something? What is a robot, husband? Like a mammoth. Do they make mammoths that look like people? They're getting close. Tuna considered this, then turned to Sam. Do you think I am a machine? I don't know what you are. What kind of people can lift trucks? People with training, I said. Training? What kind of training teaches people to lift trucks? The kind we had. Sam was looking agitated. Do you want to see my wife bleed, Sam? What? I. He looked from me to her and back, not articulating the word no at any point. Tuna scowled at me. Are you asking me to cut myself for him? Sewing needles should do. She pursed her lips, but brought out her weaver embroidery hoop and pulled loose the needle. She grimaced as she poked her thumb, then held up her hand for Sam to see a drop of blood. You see, I said, she's not a robot. Nor is she Superman because that wouldn't work on him. And what is she? What? Not who. This wasn't looking good. She is my wife who I love with all my heart. She went through the same training I did, which conditioned our strength. It's not like we were born this way. Well, how the fuck do I know? You keep saying classified this and classified that. How do I know you weren't made in a lab somewhere? Same as how I do. I don't. You really believe that? We eat, we drink, we sleep, we breathe. I gestured at Tsu'na's hand. We bleed. We're people, Sam. People with specialized training. You keep saying training. What kind of training makes someone that strong? I can't tell you. Right. Classified. Tsu'na looked at me. Perhaps you should give him an explanation, husband. I looked back at her. I saw she had an empty doc open on her laptop. Give Sam an explanation. Clever. I sighed, thought for a moment, and turned back to Sam. Look, it's like this. He waited, looking anticipatorily skeptical. There's what we know and what we don't know. What we know includes the fact that we've received specialized training and skills that make us extremely able to kill people and break things. We know that we used these skills to great effect in combat situations. We never had any real metrics on what exactly we could do. We just knew that with training and practice we could do things better. He was still listening. But there's a lot of stuff we don't know. We don't know, for example, with 100% certainty that you're not a Russian sleeper agent. He snorted. Or coerced by the Chinese government. He started to chuckle. Or an Al-Qaeda sympathizer, or an ISIS operative, or a domestic terrorist, or a religious fanatic, or a political extremist, or some other flavor of sociopath, maybe one who's just one belligerent drunk away from launching a bloodbath. We can't read your mind, we don't know your heart, we don't know you any better than you know us. His amusement faded as it became clear I was being serious. We also don't know who you might talk to, or who might overhear you talking, or, and here's a fun one, who might grab you off the street and torture you to find out what you know. His face changed. These were thoughts he hadn't had before. What we do know is that anyone who goes through the same training as us, who acquires the same skill as us, can go a long way toward killing people and breaking things. And the sorts of people who'd employ said skills for that would probably train like-minded people too, which kind of magnifies the concern. Tsu'na was typing, occasionally pausing to switch tabs and look things up. I leaned in a bit for effect. So we know that if we let anyone know about our training, we no longer have any control over the information. And what happens as a consequence is our fault. However many people die is our fault. So we don't talk about our training to anyone. Nothing personal. And that's what I mean by classified. Sam met my eyes. He wasn't happy. He wasn't satisfied. But he wasn't hostile. I allowed a humorless smile. Oh, and I don't know if I can pick up a truck. After closing, if it's all the same to you, I might want to give it a go. He grimaced. In the mirror behind him, I glimpsed the first customers of the evening coming in. Do you want us to leave, Sam? The bar or the town? Either. Both. Tsu'na softly added, Please do not make us unhappy, Sam. He looked at her a moment, looked at me another, glanced at the guys that had come in and shook his head. Do your damn job. We'll talk later. He headed down the bar to take drink orders. The evening was largely incident-free. There was a bit of shoving at a pool table, but when I started to wander over, they waved me off and went back to the game. Tsu'na typed and researched. I occasionally stroked her shoulder. She occasionally squeezed my hand. When the last of the patrons had staggered out and Sam had locked the front doors, he came and studied us a minute. Then he said, Fine, come on, and let us out the back. If my wife had picked up the back of the truck, she managed it without tearing off the bumper, but I still reached past it for the undercarriage near the tow hook. Sam and Tsu'na watched as I braced myself and heaved. It was the heaviest thing I've ever tried to lift. My inner voice was saying, You're trying to pick up a truck. You can't fucking pick up a truck. But hey, the numbers in my journal say I'm more than 50 times as strong as the average schmo, and it was time I put that to the test. I got it off the ground. I shifted to get more under it and started pushing rather than lifting. It got higher. I kept pushing. Eventually, my arm straightened. I was fucking picking up a truck. Most of the weight was on the engine end, but still. Letting it down gently rather than just dropping it was a different kind of hard. They make it look so easy in the movies. Guess we're not Superman's strength. Yet. The look on Sam's face had changed. It bordered on wonder now rather than suspicion and grim denial. He was seeing something amazing and not just my wife being some kind of freak. On that note, I looked at my magnificent Mikot. She looked at me, and without a word, we took positions at either end of the truck. I took the heavy end, because I'm a gentleman. The heavy end was heavy. Picking up the back end wasn't as much lifting the truck as it was rocking the weight forward onto the front wheels, but together we were feeling the whole thing. It was a strain, it was slow, it was a lot of creaking of the suspension, but we got it off the ground. Maybe a foot. I had my hands full and wasn't measuring. Should have asked Sam. Maybe next time. I somehow suspect there will be a next time. Could we have thrown it? Perhaps a foot or two. Certainly not like the Hulk throwing boulders into orbit, or even Spider-Man throwing a car at the Rhino. We got down again without breaking it. We came around and hugged each other hard. This was something new we had done together. Sam approached, shaking his head. And you really never done that before? Never needed to. Heavier weapons and tactical gear, sure, but we never had to lift a vehicle. Training. I nodded. Training. Could have learned to do that? Maybe. Not from us. So, what else can you do? Classified. Maybe not try doing it in front of anybody else? Sounds like a plan. Heads up. In 77, it talked about Tsu'na sitting at the bar and doing lots and lots of typing on her laptop as she looked up things that Steve was saying. That's what this chapter starts with. Entry 78 by Tsu'na. Conflict. Russian sleeper agent. A sleeper agent is a spy who is placed in a large country, in target country or organization not to undertake an immediate mission, but to act as a potential asset if activated. Russia is the largest country in the world by area, covering over 17 million square kilometers with a population of 146 million. Incidents of espionage, murder, political destabilization, and military invasion. Political destabilization. The action of making a government, area, or political group lose power or control, or making a political or economic situation less strong or safe by making changes or problems. Nuclear weapons. Coerced by the Chinese government. Coerce. Persuade to do something by using force or threats. China is the world's most populous country with a population of more than 1.4 billion people, covering an area of approximately 9.6 million square kilometers. Incidents of espionage, citizen repression, military action around borders. Nuclear weapons. Al-Qaeda sympathizer. Al-Qaeda is a multinational militant Sunni Islamic extremist network composed of Salafist jihadists. Jihadism has been applied to various insurgent Islamic extremist, militant Islamist, and terrorist individuals and organizations whose ideologies are based on the Islamic notion of jihad. Jihad, a struggle or fight against the enemies of Islam. Incidents of terrorism, slaughter, and murder. Terrorism, the unlawful use of violence and intimidation, especially against civilians, in the pursuit of political aims. ISIS operative. Islamic State, IS. Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant, ISIL. Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, ISIS. Is a militant Islamic group that follows the Salafi jihadist branch of Sunni Islam. Incidents of terrorism, slaughter, and military action. Domestic terrorist. A person who commits terrorist acts in their own country against their fellow citizens. Incidents of domestic terrorism in the United States includes Oklahoma City bombing. Religious fanatic. Incidents of terrorism, murder, property damage, and poisonings in the United States. Political extremist. Someone whose beliefs fall outside mainstream societal values and on the fringes of the ideological spectrum. In the US, a typical political extremist is motivated by anger, fear, and hatred, most commonly toward the government and people of different races, ethnicities, and nationalities. Incidents of terrorism, murder, property damage, and hate crimes. Hate crime. Crime committed on the basis of race, color, and religion may also include crimes committed on the basis of sexual orientation, gender, gender identity, and disability. Often a violent crime such as assault, murder, arson, or vandalism, or threats to commit such crimes, or conspiring or asking another person to commit such crimes, even if the crime was never carried out. Sociopath. A person with a personality disorder manifesting itself in extreme antisocial attitudes and behavior and a lack of conscience. Murder-suicide, an act in which an individual kills one or more people before or while killing themselves. Suicide attack, any violent attack usually entailing the attacker detonating an explosive, where the attacker has accepted his own death as a direct result of the attacking method used. Spree killer, someone who commits a criminal act that involves two or more murders or homicides in a short time in multiple locations. Going postal, becoming extremely and uncontrollably angry, often to the point of violence and usually in a workplace environment. Husband taught me more about this world's politics in the 5 minutes he talked with Sam than in the several weeks in this world he has talked with me. Few of these ideas were truly new to me. There were instances of many of them in different forms in Eorzea, though I had not heard of an instance of going postal. Certainly the Mughals did not seem to kill each other. Husband once quoted a video called Broken Arrow. I don't know what's worse, that it happens at all, or that it happens often enough there's a name for it. There were no scholars in Eorzea writing articles about such things in Wikipedia, since there was no Wikipedia. Perhaps there were names for them in a book somewhere in the Great Google Library. I did not notice such a thing in my visits there. Nuclear weapons are not news to me. Husband described them when he compared the demonstration of the Ultima weapon in the Praetorian to a nuclear explosion. He said there were single nuclear bombs that could destroy entire cities, things the size of cars that could be dropped from airships or flown on rockets across seas and continents. He probably meant an Earth city, of which apparently they were far larger than Tulsa. He said he thought the Ultima weapon could fit in a beer keg. Wikipedia says the United States has many nuclear weapons, as do Russia and China, more than enough to kill all the people in all three countries and perhaps damage the entire world. And China is not kind to its people, and Russia is not kind to its neighbors, and the United States leadership changes often, and who the United States is kind to can change with it. And there are other countries with nuclear weapons, and countries with chemical weapons like Black Rose, and countries and former countries and potential countries with guns and bombs and spies and willingness to do harm. And this is the state of the world without people like us in quantity who can lift cars and use magic and teleport and carry guns and poison and nuclear weapons in their inventory. Husband perhaps should have mentioned this when he spoke of confused and upset here. Superman is older than nuclear weapons, but even before then the idea of a hero must have been appealing to people, one who could fly and who could not be shot or blown up. The minstrels in Eorzea did well with stories of heroes. But for a story of a hero to be interesting, there must be a target for his heroism. The primals we fought in Eorzea were our targets. If we had not fought primals, there would not have been as many stories about us. Likewise, the superheroes in the comics have supervillains to fight. The people who invent superheroes invent supervillains too. Perhaps the conflict is the reason for the stories rather than the superheroes themselves. Perhaps people like stories about conflict. Is that why there is so much violence in this world? Do people here like conflict? We can do things most people cannot. Are we superheroes? Must we expect conflict and supervillains? I asked husband about this as we settled into bed after work. He told me to add Spider-Man to my reading.